Mike, Connecticut, you're on the Wilkow Majority. Hello.
Hey, hoping we can get through this without you freaking out and hanging up on me.
I don't freak out and hang up unless somebody curses at me or insults me.
Well, I'll try not to do either of those. I'm just, to me, it's interesting because it seems like you leave out settled law whenever you talk about the Constitution, as well as the obligations to pay treaties and financial obligations when the government incurs a debt, that it's responsible to pay that debt off. We have all this debt that the government has incurred, and then now suddenly when they have to actually pay it all off, it's all about whether or not the Constitution specifically mentions that particular program or that particular nowhere will the laws being created or those things being argued. It's only at the point when you come back and say, oh, well, it's got to be paid for. Then it's only the people below the top level financial income earners are suddenly, oh, it's going to have to come down on you. And I just don't understand that. I don't understand.
Mike, how could the government have quote-unquote settled law if it didn't have the authority to pass the law in the first place?
That seems like an argument that should have been made in the 50s and 60s.
Doesn't matter. I'm sorry that I was born in 72. I can't help that I wasn't born then. It's not settled law. So essentially, hold on. So, Mike, what you're saying is that the government can intern its citizens, and that's settled law.
Well, the legislature is responsible for creating laws, and they're supposed to create the laws within the constitutional constraints. But when those laws are created, no one checked that, and then it just went along, and it becomes settled law. It's almost like when
no, that's not become. That's like saying, well, we just generally accept these things. You mean because people at the time may not have known better to resist these ideas or resist their government or check their constitution? We no longer retain the right to petition our government for redress of grievances? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I think once a significant period of time goes by, that it becomes irresponsible to suddenly start making these judgment calls that...
I'm not making it... Hold on, Mike. I'm not making a judgment call. When I point out that the government is acting outside of its authority of the Constitution, I'm not making a judgment call. I'm reading the words.
Yeah, but if you look at the way the government operates, it's operated outside of the Constitution for longer than I've ever been alive.
So we should never try to rein it in. We should just let the federal government creep to its most massive and dense size until we're run over by it, because we don't want to scale these things back on some judgment call.
Well, I think things need to be done responsibly. I think just suddenly cutting all of Social Security off.
Nobody ever said that, sir.
Or not paying for wars that have been done.
Nobody said that either. Nobody said those things. But you're making stuff up now. Nobody said that. Nobody said that. You're making stuff up now.
No, I'm saying it. They haven't said it directly, but that's exactly what they've advocated over the course of the last 3 years.
Mike, explain this to me. I want, if you want to, okay, Social Security. You explain to me how it would be irresponsible to eliminate Social Security by saying the people who are on it stay on it until they ultimately pass away. The people we've never taxed for it don't ever have to pay into the system. And the people somewhere in the middle will get their money back through a series of tax credits that are equivalent to the money that was taken from them for Social Security. You tell me how that's irresponsible.
Because that money doesn't exist even currently. Even to follow what you're saying, still puts us in a bigger debt position than we're currently in. So how are you going to pay to suddenly cash out everybody who's paid in? How are you going to pay for all the medical expenses of those people who are currently on Social Security?
That's Medicare you're talking about. So you've basically just chucked it all to the wind and said the government can do whatever it wants, whenever it wants. It has no limits, sir. You are a slave. Thank you very much for calling this program.